Good afternoon. Hi, everybody. This is the last Friday of October. It's not just Halloween yet, but it's feeling like it outside. We're happy to have you here with us for the Hostos Student Leadership Academy Friday Ambassador Workshop Series. My name is Jason Lipfeld, and this is our leadership-based series for the members of the Leadership Academy and Phi Theta Kappa and the Student Government Association, and as well as guests. So we hope that you'll join us and join us again as we move through this series. Today, I have the special privilege of introducing one of my brothers, one of the children of Hostos, who graduated and has gone on to do some extraordinary things, right? Transferred to Harvard University, became an author, is a public speaker, owns a couple of businesses, dabbles in real estate, a couple of other things. We're going to talk about a lot of this stuff today. When he was at Hostos, he was a member of the Ambassadors Program. He was also our student government president.
Yeah.
And he's an extraordinary individual. And without any further ado, I am going to turn it over to you, Saint. And let me do somebody came off mute. So I will introduce you today to our speaker. This is Saint Mbakop A Boui. And welcome, Saint, and take it away.
Thank you, Jason, and thank you all for joining on the Friday afternoon. I know it's not the most, it's not the best time in the world to get into a presentation. The fact that you're here says a lot about your identity, says a lot about your habits. And that's what we're going to be discussing tonight. We're going to discuss about habit and identity and how to build those habits that build your identity and the relation between those two. So like Jason said, my name is Saint Mbakop. So over the course of tonight, we're going to go over a lot of things. I'm going to talk a lot about myself. But every time I talk about myself, I want you to see the picture of what I'm trying to paint. I'm trying to paint you the picture of who I am, what I'm doing now, and how those habit and identity made me do what I'm doing now. So let's begin. This is basically how our conversation tonight is going to go. We have about an hour and a half together, and we're going to try to go over 6 key topics. First, we're going to get to know me. I'm going to talk, like I said, a lot about myself. But we're going to talk about it in the context of habit and habit forming, habit building, and how that impact. We're going to define those terms, habit and identity, what does those terms actually means, and why is it important for us to kind of talk about those stuff? I'm going to walk you through a 3 simple step process to building good habit and breaking bad ones. Because as we know, that's basically the building block of your life is those things. Is the identity, is the habit that you built. We're going to do a quick fun exercise. I'm going to share with you an exercise that I do personally for myself, and I think that it will be very useful for you as well. We're going to share that is finding your word. And we're going to finish off with 3 key habits that I truly believe that if you start doing these 3 habits, it will change your life forever. It has for me, and for almost anyone that I have spoke to, those 3 habits works. If you constantly do those 3 habits that I'm going to give you at the end, you are guaranteed to always improve and always get better at whatever you choose to do, whatever you choose your identity to be, to make sure that it will be one that you can enjoy and you can, feel proud of. Now, like I said, let's begin by me talking a lot about myself. So as Jason mentioned, so when I'm asked, introduce yourself, I usually have a lot of things to say because I do a lot of things. I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm the co-founder and founder and CEO of Next Up, which is a company that works in helping immigrants like myself adapt and get integrated in the US. I preach personal development and continuous learning, as I believe those are the key for any involvement in any progress in your life. Those 2 principles should be part of our life. So I talk a lot about those stuff. Originally, I'm from Cameroon, and I'm an alumni from CUNY and Hostos in particular. I'm a Hostos Leadership Academy alum, as you know, so I know exactly where you are tonight. So I've been exactly where you are. In our time, it was a lot more in person than virtual. So it's a bit of a change, but still, it's the same experience. And we're going to talk more about how that formed and how that helped me create the habit that has helped me over the course of my life. I did study business analytics at Harvard. I studied applied data science at MIT. I'm the director of sales and marketing at New York City Books. I'm a learning specialist with the continuous learning, with the commercial learning and development at AmerisourceBergen. And for those of you that do not know, AmerisourceBergen is only the 10th largest company in America. So it's one of the big giant of pharmaceutical distribution and pharmaceutical product in the US. I'm an entrepreneur who pitched a business for the Shark Tank organization. I'm a real estate consultant. I'm an international speaker. I have published 9 books so far and working on the 10th one. So you see, that's a mouthful. That's a lot of things that I'm doing. And currently I'm doing all those things pretty much at the same time. And often when I say that I do all these things, people usually say, how you manage, how you do all that? How is it even possible to do all that? And tonight I'm going to share with you my traits and how it happens. Because, and believe me, it's not magic. And it's not that I'm special or smarter or anything of that nature. It's definitely not the case. So I like to share with you something that I don't always share, right? Where I started, because a couple of years ago, I was none of those things, right? When I moved to the US, I was a dishwasher at some point. I was a security guard at a company, a supermarket that you might know is very popular in New York. So Morton Williams, I was a security guard there. I work in the deli where making sandwiches, which is where I actually started learning English, because I almost got into a fight once for making the wrong sandwich because I didn't understand what the person ordered. So that's the story for another day. But I was a daily worker. I was a staff for advanced care staffing. I was an assistant cook. So I work in a restaurant and I was an assistant cook. When I put here assistant cook, it was my title. Basically, I work the grill. And if you ever work in a restaurant and work the grill, you know what that is. I was a CNA, certified nurse assistant for a home health care. So usually nowadays, when somebody asks me to introduce myself, this is the part of myself that I don't share. It's things that have helped me become and do what I'm doing now, but I usually don't share it that much. So I wanted to start this conversation with us tonight by sharing both sides, both of the things that I have done that could be considered have done well, and some of the things that I have done that at the time was excellent, and it's always excellent at the time, no matter what the circumstances are. So tonight, I'm not just gonna spend the whole night or the whole evening talking about myself, right? Because that's not the goal. The goal is for us to understand how habits and identity have helped me move from certain things to doing certain things. Now, when it comes to forming habit is usually through a pattern. So you have a certain thought or a thought pattern in your head, you think in a certain way. Because you think a certain way, you take certain action. Because you take certain action, it leads you to develop certain habits. And when you develop certain habits, the constant application, the constant utilization of those habits lead to what we can call your identity. And we're going to talk about those steps. So first, the thing that we're not going to talk about tonight, we're not going to talk about thought or how to develop thought, how to guide your thought, because that is a longer and other conversation than this hour and a half can lead us to fully dig into. So the thought, if you had to change your life and you had to begin with your thought, it's very difficult to do that because it's difficult to train yourself to think one thing or a certain thing or a certain pattern. It's very difficult. For example, if I come here and I say, I want you to not think about a cat, what do you think about? Automatically, when you hear, I don't want you to think about a cat, the first thought that comes to your head is a thought of a cat. And now if I tell you, stop thinking about a cat, you cannot stop. Your thought will keep going. So it's not always the best place to start in order for you to change your action or your habit. It's not, the thought is not always the best part. It is the part where everything starts. But in order for you to change it, you cannot start by changing your thought, okay? Because you have both your conscious thought and your unconscious thought. So navigating the two and changing those are a bit difficult. The next, your thought lead to your action, right? And in general, there are some action that you control, but most of the action that we do on the daily basis is not unconscious. The way you lace your shoes, the way you dress, the pants that you put your first leg in when you get in dress, or which hand you put first when you put in on a shirt. All those are action that you take without even thinking. And about 90% of what we do over the course of the day is unconscious. We don't necessarily think about them. So because a lot of our action are unconscious, it is important for us to design a way that we can take those actions that will be beneficial for us. And that's basically what we're going to be trying to do tonight. Instead of tackling our thought or action, we're going to tackle a big chunk of it at once. We're going to tackle habits. We're going to think about habit. And then because we think about habit, we're going to impact our thought and our action. So from the thought, from the habit that we develop, it leads to identity. And we're going to talk about how those two connect. And that will be our exercise for today. So first, our habit. Before we go into debating and talking more about habit, I want us to do a quick exercise. I want you to go on the chat, and I want you to answer this question for me, or complete this phrase for me. Complete this sentence for me. When I wake up, what is the first thing that you do when you wake up? I want to hear from all of you. Go on your chat and type it in. What do you do when you wake up? Jose say he prayed. Good, Jose. Pray. Thank God. You know, that's good. Pray. All right. Who else? Meditate. That's awesome. Check out. There you go. You said the right thing. You check your phone. That's completely true, right? Don't just say things that you think I want to hear. Tell me exactly what the truth about what you do when you wake up, right? Check your phone. It is a good one. You pray. Stay on the ceiling. Good one. Yeah. Stretch myself. That's another good one. You think. What do you think about it? Ashanti, you think. What do you think about? Yeah, all those are good things. All those are a form of a habit that we build. Hit the shower. That's a good one, Steven. So all those things are habit, right? If I ask you when it was the first day you started doing that, or praying, or looking at your phone, or staring at the ceiling, or thinking, when did you start doing that? habit? When did you develop that habit? For most of us, we don't really know. Most of us, we wouldn't know what happened. It's just something that we do. Most of us, we don't know, we don't consciously know why when it began, when we started doing that. And exactly. Shanti, since I can remember. Yeah, because generally you do that because it's just a pattern. You wake up, you do whatever you normally do. And if I ask you the action that you take right after that, doing that first action, it'll be the same. It'll be a pattern that you do. Maybe I look at my phone, then maybe I hit the snooze button on my alarm, will woke me up, and maybe I hit the shower, like one of you said, and any of those things. So all those things are habit, the pattern, the thing that happen. Generally, they happen without you thinking about it. And in general, over the course of our day, we encounter a lot of this that we just do, right? We just do. If you usually get your coffee on your way by going to the Dunkin' Donut, generally you can drive there without even thinking. You can just get in your car and then your car will lead to where, where you're getting your coffee. If you usually stop at the specific thing, if you have a specific action that you do over the course of your day, it always happens without even you thinking about it. So now we talk about the habit that we do in the morning. And if I ask you, what is a habit? What do you think is a habit? I keep talking about habit and all those patterns. If I ask you to define a habit, when I say the word habit, what comes to your mind? I want you to go back again on the chat and type in whatever comes to mind when we say habit. When I say your habit, repeat behavior. Right. Good. Program decision. It is a program decision we make. Yep. Reflex. It's a good one. Repetition. Correct. Something unconscious. Yep. Course. What do you think? Oh, I got you. I got you, Casey. Good action we do every day. Something we do over and over. Soft environment. Learning from a parent, correct? Something that you consciously or unconsciously repeating, doing and repeatedly. That's good. Yeah, and you all are correct. You're all in that range. That's what a habit is. If you Google the term habit, this is pretty much what will come up. A habit is a subtle, regular tendency or practice, especially one that is hard to give up. That's what a habit is. Is that repetition? Is that action that you do every day? Is that thing that you do because of your environment, because it's the way you always done it? So all those are what a habit is. Now, because you do them all the time, I want to ask you this. Because you do something all the time, does that mean that it's good or bad? First, does that mean if you have a habit, does that mean the habit is good? Again, go on the chat and type your answer. Is having a habit a good thing? What do you think? That's correct. Habits are not always good. In some sense, yep. Yeah, and you're correct. Habits are neither good or bad. It depends on which one you have. You have good habit and you have bad habit. And since there are things that you repeat every day, you have to be careful on what you're building. If you build good one, they will support what you're trying to be, and they will support you in your life, and they will support you in your career. They will support you on how you appropriately do, how to appropriately become what you want to. If you have bad one, they will do the opposite. They will drag you down. They will hold you back. They will make you fear things that you shouldn't fear. They will make you not experience things that you should experience. You know, they will limit your experience. They will limit your life. Now, when we talked about your habit, so you have habit, we know that habits are neither good or bad. You can have both good habit and bad habit. And no, earlier I talked about your habit lead to your identity. So your identity is generally the term that you add after the statement I am. So I want to start your starting habit, where you are right now. What is your identity? What will you identify as? So I want you to go on the chat again and complete this statement. I am. After the I am, put in the word that best describe you as of right now. Can be I am a mother, I'm a father, I'm a student, or anything of that nature. What best describe you right now? Kevin, father. Jose, full-time student. Grateful. Appliance. Big sister, wife and daughter. Who else? Who else? A student and a sister. A leader, a member of the Leadership Academy for sure. Yes. So all those statements and all those things that you add after the I am is basically your current identity. It's who you are right now. And who your identity is that statement. Now, again, what is your idea when I talk about identity? What does that mean to you? How do you understand that term right now? When I say identity, your identity, what do you think that word means? Again, go on the chat and type in what you think that means, that term referred to. What is the definition of that term in your mind? It doesn't need to be right. It just needs to be what you think it is. I'll present myself. This is it. Yep. What define me? Yep. Veronica. Yep. Who else? What do you think identity means? Don't be shy. Don't be shy. I want to hear your answer. I want to hear your thought. How I see myself as. Who I see myself as, Kevin says. And all these are correct. They're a perception, right? Either yours or held by others. So the identity, the term identity refers to the fact of being who or what a person or a thing is. Is a fact of being who you are or what you are. That's what the identity is. Right? So if your identity is the fact of being who you are, how do you know your identity? How do you refer to identity? So the identity is basically your past action plus your current action create your habits, right? It's whatever you do that create your habit. If you are always doing coffee in the morning, well, then you're a coffee drinker, and that's how you'll be now, right? If you always do one thing, then you are that. If you go run every morning, then you're a person that value fitness, then you're a person that have habit of fitness, then you're a fit person, then you will be a fit person, then you can identify as a fit person. So it's not just your thought, it's also is what you actually do. No, your identity is just the sum of your habit. It's just all your habit combined create your identity. So the reason why we say a sum of habit, why I say the sum of habit here, is that let's take an example of a person that identify as an honest person. If you want to identify as an honest person, you have to be, let's say, somebody that tells the truth, right? If you tell the truth 90% of the time, and then don't tell the truth 10% of the time, are you an honest person or are you a liar? The question is for you. You can either go on the chat and type your answer or unmute yourself and tell me what you think. Somebody that lie, that tell the truth 90% of the time and lie 10% of the time, what will that person be considered? A liar or somebody that tells the truth? We can say liar. Liar. Everybody thinks that's a liar.
I think they'll be considered different things to different people. Depends. The people they lie to, they'd be a liar. But the people they tell the truth to, they might not see them as a liar.
Tell me more about that, Kevin. So we think that will be, that's a good point.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you can only judge a person from your experience with them. So if you don't know anything about their lies, you only know the truth, and that's who you know.
Yeah. Who agree with Kevin right now? Don't be shy. You can unmute yourself and agree or disagree with Kevin right now. Who disagree with Kevin then? Since it seemed like no one agree with Kevin. Who disagree with Kevin on the fact that a person that tells the truth 90% of the time and lie 10% of the time could be considered a good person or an honest person to some?
I mean, I feel like I agree with him. It all depends on the way that you look at it. Like, what did they lie about? Like, was it something trivial? Was it like just a joke? Or like, did they blatantly lie about something really bad?
All right, so now you added another layer on it, a layer of complexity in terms of what did they lie about? Is it just that they lie about everything, or did they lie about something important? Something, because if you tell the truth 99% of the time and then you lie about one thing that cost somebody the life, the career, or something like that, you could be considered a liar just for that one act. So, yeah. Anyone else that agree or disagree on this topic? We're still on this example of
I disagree because I think
yeah.
an honest person should tell the truth 100% all the time. You shouldn't lie about anything, no matter the situation. You should still tell the truth, even if it's gonna cost you. You should still tell the truth.
That's fair. Yeah.
So what I was saying was that your experience with that person, if your experience with the person is that they've been honest to you, you would not know that they were a liar. They would be considered a liar to someone else that they lied to. You only have your interaction with them. I think people might be misunderstanding what I was trying to
Yeah. And Kevin, I got your point clear. And I personally tend to agree with you. I might be wrong, but I tend to agree with you. If somebody is a person that does 90% of the thing correctly, the sum of his identity will be considered an honest person. Until everybody agree on that lie that they made. Like you said, Kevin, if you do things, if you are a person that tell the truth 90% of the time, that means more than likely the majority of people that you interact with will know you as a as an honest person. But that one bad habit, that 10% could come back and destroy the 90% that you have made, 90% effort that you have made, right? So when it comes to habit and building habit, you want to build habit that are positive for you. But the point that I was trying to make here, right? And I think that the example of honesty may have been an extreme one, because but the better example here will be something related to almost any other habit. Let's say habit of eating, right? If you're eating well 90% of the time, and then you don't eat well 10% of the time, will you be healthy or will you be malnourished? Chances are you'll be well nourished. Chances are you'll be healthier. Because at the end of the day, your habit is a sum of what you do. It's not a one-time thing will make you a particular thing. Because in general, your habit and your identity will grow and will improve, will change. Another example to think about it in terms of the honesty. Let's go back to that honesty example. Let's say you lie for the first 20 years of your life. And then at 21, you decide, I will never lie again in my life for the rest of my life. And you proceed to do just that. You never lie again a day in your life. What are you? A liar? Or let's say by the time you reach 45, 50 years old, what are you? A liar or an honest person in terms of identity?
You're an honest person that used to be a liar.
An honest person that used to be a liar. That's a good one, Kevin. Who else? Who do you think that person is? A liar or an honest person? So first 20 years of your life, you just lie all the time about everything. Now, after 21, you decide, I never lie again. And then you proceed not to do that for the next 25 years of your life. At 45, what are you? A liar, an honest person? Honest, 100%. Casey said. Once liar, always a liar. Someone said. Still a liar, we could say. Yeah, so I would debate that at that point, you're no longer a liar. Like Kevin said, you once were a liar. At this point, you're no longer a liar. Your identity is not fixed in time. Your identity is not fixed at what you are and what you are now. Your identity is an ever-evolving thing. Even if you have bad habit today, or even if you have some challenge today, the challenge that you have today, or the or the error that you have in your action that you're doing today does not determine who you'll be tomorrow. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't be accountable for what you did, because what you did. So you still be accountable for what you did. But at that point in time, you are no longer a liar. If you didn't lie for 20 years, it's going to be hard for somebody to say that you're a liar. That means anyone that know you, as Kevin mentioned earlier, from that point on, will never know you as a liar. You'll be identified as an honest person that have lied in the past. If it is a bad thing that you did, you still be accountable for that. That doesn't go away because you change. So you're still gonna have the action, the result of the action that you have done in the past will still be with you. It will accumulate with you. It will be with you. But the result of your identity will be the sum of what you do from that past action to the next action. Is accumulation of all you have done. That's what will create that identity. That's what will create your identity. You'll be identified at that point as the accumulation of what you have done in the past, what you're doing now, and what you're going to be doing. So your future identity will be based on what you do today, what you do tomorrow. The sum of that will lead to your future identity. It will lead to your future identity as the more you do good things, the more you become good. I'll give you a clear example of this. Most of you know or knew Nelson Mandela, right? If you know Nelson Mandela in the later part of his life, well, he was renowned worldwide as a great man. It has not always been the truth. He's known for non-violence and peace. That's who that's what his legacy are, and rightfully so, because he did so much more for that than he did on the other side of violence when he was younger, on the other side of his sheer disobedience or to a system that he didn't agree with, right? So what he did after a certain period of his life have far outweighed what he did before. And that become his identity. That's what we know, all of us know him for now, for the thing that he did after a certain point of his life. So the point here is our action, the result of our action will still be there, but our future identity will be based on what we do today, what we do tomorrow, and what we do for the rest of our life, and as we go forward. Right? So now, so the message here is that don't let your struggle of today or your challenges or your shortcoming of today become a fact. So don't become your struggle. Don't, because you're dealing with a particular point or you are in a particular point in your life, that doesn't mean that will be your identity forever. Your identity will be based on the action that you decide to take. And the action you decide to take will be based on the habit that you built. So we're going to talk about those things there. So in order for you to build the right habit, in order for you to build something that leads to a life or a career or a lifestyle that you want, you need to first identify what that lifestyle is. So I want you to take a moment right now. You can share it with the group or not, but I want you to take a moment and really think about this question that we often get a lot when we're younger, but as we start to get a little bit older, we start to get less of that. Is the question of, who do you want to be? I know when you're young, when you get this question all the time. As you start getting to college, you start getting those questions a lot less and less. When you still at the beginning of your life, in the beginning of your career, you get that question sometime, but at some point you quickly forget this. Now, who do you want to be is not just a large life goal that you need to plan 40, 50 years from now. Who do you want to be is a practical question that you can ask yourself almost every day. You can ask yourself every year, every academic year, who do you want to be? What kind of student do I want to be? And if you're clear about what you want to be, then the rest of building habit and creating the life that you want would be a lot easier. And this is usually where the first question comes. So again, I want you to take a moment, write it down. If you can picture that you want to be, that person that you want to be, I want you to either keep in your mind, but I prefer that you write it down somewhere of who you want to be. Now, as we go through the rest, we will talk about the habit, right? There's this quote that I got from, I think the book, forget the name of the author, but I believe the book was Atomic Habit. And he said, the ultimate form of intrinsic motivation is the habit. The ultimate form of intrinsic motivation is when a habit becomes part of your identity. When you build a habit that is you, right? So it is something to say, I'm the type of person that want this, or I want X, Y, and Z, the beautiful car, the beautiful mansion, to have all A's in all my classes. So it's one thing to say that. It is something very different to say I am the type of person who get A on all the class. And these subtle differences, it doesn't seem like much of a difference, but this little difference of what you want and who you are is a big difference in what kind of action you take and what you do. If you're a student that want an A, well, you might want an A and still try to party every weekend. You might want an A and still try to not focus when it's time to study. But if you're the type of student that get A's, well, you know what the type of student who gets A does. And the good thing is we all know what the right thing is. In general, we know what we should do, right? And we think that it's motivation that usually holds us back. But the motivation is just one part of it, and it's the smallest part of it. The best type of motivation, as this quote says, is your habit. If you have a habit of doing things a certain way, then it becomes very natural to do them, whether no matter what the circumstances are. And like I mentioned earlier in my introduction, all those things that I do, the reason why I do and I can do all these different things is just that I have a certain pattern of my day. Most of them are automatics. If you ask me, how do you manage your day? I don't know. I just have set of habits. I have time at which I do certain things. Because of that, I can do a great amount of things because they're just in the calendar that way. I never multitask. I'm very bad at multitasking. I don't multitask. I do a lot of things, but I don't multitask because my calendar kind of schedule is scheduled in. So I know I wake up in the morning, I have this to do. After this, then I do this. After this, then I do this. And after the end of the day, when I look, I say, oh, here's the whole list of things that I have done today. And it just happened like that when you have built those habits, those patterns, like we said, those things that are repetitive. And if you build them in a way that you want, if you build them in the way that support that person that you want to be, then everything else starts to go pretty much flawlessly. Doesn't mean that it's not going to be hard. It doesn't mean that you're not going to be tired, but you will be, but you'll be able to do it regardless. You have some commitment in some way in which you can do that. So we're going to talk about the way in which we choose those different elements. So the way in which you choose an action is usually based on who you are. If you are a person that struggles with focusing and studying, whenever you get home, there's a pattern that makes you either go to study or not go to study, right? You get home, there's that video game that you like, that is right there, open, the remote are right on the desk where you study. So it's very tempting to just jump in and go play your video game. If you go in and the same phone in which you look, you look for your courses, you also have all your social media in it. It's more tempting to open Instagram than to open something that will make you struggle through a courses or a problem. So now, cultivating the habit of deciding which habit you want to do is as simple as knowing who you want to be. If you want to be the person that does this, then when the choice comes, it's not even a choice. It just happens. You just do that. And in order for you to do that, you need to cultivate the right habit. And in order for you to cultivate the habit, there's a simple 3-step that I recommend. First, you start by identifying what the habit is. In order for you to build a habit or to change a habit, you need to know the pattern in which that habit happens. When during your day does this thing happen? If, for example, you usually study at 2 a.m. or you usually study after you come back from school, right after you come back to school. So there's a pattern. There's something that you do right before the time of studying. If you identify when that action happened or when that behavior happened, and or when you want it to happen, that's the step one. Identify, hey, I want to start studying now right after school. Right after class, I want to do my homework. It could be something like, I'm the type of person that always does his homework on time. No matter what, I do my homework on time. Now, in order for me to support that statement, in order for it to be my identity, in order for me to own that, I need to put in place a system that help me support that. The way I personally do it, I'm busy, but I still take courses. I take courses, challenging courses all the time. And in order for me to maintain and do good on those courses, simple. I always do my homework right after the course. Unless I have a course back to back, I do my exercise or my homework right after that course. For me, it helped me with due purpose. It helped me first. The information that I got from the course is still fresh in my head. I just got into the course. Plus, I can usually, it will save me time to open the books and all that. So you cut all that time of reopening the book that I already opened. So I can deal with that right there. So that's identifying when it happened or when it needs to happen. Now, in order for it to happen correctly, you need to have the environment, the proper environment for that behavior, for that event to happen. That means if you need to write an essay and you usually use your laptop, that means your laptop needs to be charged. If your laptop is not charged and you're trying to type an essay, it will die on you, which means you're not going to finish your essay. If you need to go halfway to your house to go get the charger to come plug on your laptop, and then go get the book in the other side of the room and bring it, chances are you put it for later, chances are you won't do it. It needs to be as easy as possible for you to do what you need to happen next. Especially if you're having a challenge with that particular behavior that you're trying to build, it needs to be as automatic, as easy to do as possible. You need to be right there. Now, after I do this, the thing that I need to do next is right here. If you decide that, hey, I need to exercise. I mean, when you go to sleep and say, hey, I'm going to exercise in the morning. When you wake up in the morning, everything should be right there, ready for you to just jump in and go exercise. If you have to go through hoops in order for you to get ready to go to the gym, you won't go at all. We know how it happened. You wake up in the morning, you would think about, oh yeah, I need to go to the gym, but yeah, I need to go get my clothes, I need to iron them, I need to fix them, my shoes, I don't know where. So the moment you start having all that talk in there, you're not going to do it. So first thing, you need to identify when the habit happened. Second thing, you need to identify what you can do in order to make that habit as easier as possible to transition to from the previous activity. And lastly, you need to reward yourself when you do good. It's hard to stay motivated, it's hard to stay focused, and it's hard to do the thing that you know you should do. So what I want to emphasize again here is that in general, we all know what we need to do. We all know. If you're a student and you need to have an A, you know exactly what you need to do to have an A. You can find excuses, you can make excuses, but you know what you need to do. Now, in order for you to do it, you need to reward yourself. Whenever you do it well, you need to reward yourself with something that supports the identity that you're trying to build. If you're trying to build the idea, for example, that you're a good student, if you do your homework on time, you need to do something that support that idea. So you need to give yourself a reward that support the idea that you're a good student. It doesn't mean that when you do your homework, you can immediately go say, hey, I did my homework, I can go out for the whole rest of the night. That's not how it works. You need to do something that is a good thing, that you feel good about yourself, that may help you feel good about yourself, but also that support that identity, that support that habit or that behavior that you're trying to build. And this is the 3 simple steps that always make your habit, that will always make your habit be rock solid and help you always do things that need to be done when they need to be done. If you created the pattern that already happened automatically and you don't have to think about it too much, you know, hey, when this happened, I do this. I mean, when the class ends, as soon as the professor go out, I pull out my book, I start doing my homework. No, when the professor go out, you don't have to ask yourself, what do I do now? Do I bring my back out? You already know what's happening. You already know that, hey, at this point, I'm putting my book out and I'm doing my homework. If that's the pattern that you develop, it will be easier for you to do your homework. And you will never have to be late on your homework ever. Plus, it gives you a lot of advantage. You can have the professor, for example, correcting or reviewing that homework beforehand. You can submit it early enough for you to have a review and be that A student that you wanted to be to begin with. So, 3 steps: identify the pattern or when you want the habit that you're trying to build, when it happened, and what you should do next. Make it easier to do. So develop and set up the environment where your habit occurs to be as friendly to your behavior, to the habit that you're trying to build as possible. Reward yourself when you do good. So every time you do something that you think, oh yeah, this is what the A student does, you have to reward yourself so that it make it likely that you do that the next time and you repeat that behavior that keep. Now, we have good habit that we want to build, but there's also bad habit that we're trying to get rid of. When it comes to getting rid of the bad habit, they're the same. They're the same format, or rather the opposite of the previous format. First, you still identify the habit that you need to break. Let's say, for instance, we go with that example that you're trying to be a student, and you realize that you play a lot of video game, and it's usually distract you from doing your homework on time. An easy way for you to do that: first, you identify the pattern that when do you usually play video game? As soon as you get home. So you identify when the habit that challenge your good habit happen. In second, you create the environment, or you create an environment that make that particular behavior hard to do. That means if your habit is usually to play video game, before you go to school, unplug your video game console. Delete the application from your computer if you play a PC game, for example. So when you go home, you get home, it's very hard. You're gonna, in order for you to play the video game, you're gonna have to reinstall the game, or replug your TV or remote, or replug your computer or whatever console you're playing with, and you're gonna take forever to load and all that. It's gonna make it harder for you to, you're gonna think of all the steps that it's gonna take for you to do that bad habit. Is gonna make it less likely that you're gonna repeat that particular behavior. And the last point, the third point here. So instead of rewarding yourself for this case, you punish yourself. You make a contract with yourself to do things in a certain way. Whenever you do things that don't align with the habit or the identity that you're trying to cultivate, you punish yourself. When I mean by punishing yourself here, I don't mean hurting yourself or anything of that to that extent. I mean putting to rules, private yourself or something, that if I don't finish my work, if I submit a homework late, for instance, I will not eat out for the rest of the week. That's a punishment enough. You have to make sure that whatever decision you make, you abide with that. By that, it should be something that you can do, that you would dislike, and that will remind you not to do that particular thing that you didn't want to do again. And that's how you make it less likely for you to repeat that. If you're somebody that like to eat out, you can remove that from your. If you're somebody that like to go out, or that like any particular thing, you can reduce the thing that you like, so that next time that you think about not doing your homework right away, you have a counterpart and you say, this is what I will gain. If I do that, I will go and do this that I like. If I don't do this particular good habit, or if I do this bad habit, here's what I will get. And if it's clear to you, then starting to build the good habit become relatively easier. Now, as you go to building your habit, there's a lot of things that goes into it, right? And one of the things that goes into it is you understanding what you want, right? You understanding what you want. So in the next couple of minutes, we're going to talk about your word, right? Your word here is a exercise, or it's an exercise that helps you see what you want, your identity, that help you clarify your identity. Like I said, the clearer your identity is to you, the easier making those decisions or setting up those habits will be. Setting up the good habit and following through with those habits will be. So what I mean here by the word, an example here will be an example for me. This is my particular example, and this is my word. One of the things that I want to be, or my identity, or what I want to be, is an entrepreneur. I want to be an entrepreneur. Being that I want to be an entrepreneur, my word is Pascosha. Who here can tell me what they think this word means? Take a stab at it. What do you think it means? First of all, what language do you think it is in? You want to venture and guess what this means? Any guess? Yeah, definitely not English. No idea. And none of you have any idea about this. And I know that we have a mixed group here of people coming from all over the country, all over the world. Yes, definitely not French. It might sound a bit like French, but it's not French. We want to try. We want to try. What do you think is Greek? No. Well, close is close. It is derived from a Greek word, but it's not Greek. No, not French. All right, so I'll tell you what the word is. This word is simply an acronym. So that's why none of you could figure that out, because it's not really a word. It's a word that only makes sense to me, and it only makes sense to you if I share with you. If I didn't share this with you, you will never know what that word means. That word is basically the principle or the idea that I try to incorporate in how I live my life. So what I want to be is, I want to be persuasive. I want to be a hard worker. I want to be ambitious. I want to be comfortable with risk. I want to be I want to have an unwavering conviction. I want to be self-confident, humble, and adaptable. So because of that, that's my word. In order for me to be a good entrepreneur, I need those skills. That means I need to build this skill in my life, in my career. When I'm moving in my day-to-day, I need to make decisions that support this habit. Now, this word is on every place. Everything that I own have this word right in front of it. It's on my phone, on my computer, it's everywhere. But now, whenever I pull this word out, no one knows what it means except me. Whenever I'm having a conversation with someone, I can look at this word and it can remind me the thing that I actually want to stand for. So it's basically a guiding principle for me, but the best thing is no one knows what it means. And no one knows what it means is made that way on purpose. It made that way so that I know what it means, and I alone know when I'm breaking my word. And I should try my best to not break my word. I should try my best to develop habits that support my word. So we're gonna try to do this quick exercise for you, and we're gonna figure out what your word are. We're gonna find out your word. So in order for you to find out your word, as you can see, there's two things that goes into my word. First is what I want to be, right? What I want to be is an entrepreneur. Because I want to be an entrepreneur, there's some characteristic that entrepreneur have that in order for me to be a good one, I need to know what they are, and I need to develop them. I need to build them into my skill. If I already have them, I need to make them even better or improve them. If I don't have them, then I need to figure out a way to build them or support them or anything of that nature. So the exercise we're going to do is very simple. We're going to find your word. In order for us to find your word, we're going to take a couple of minutes and you're going to write down who you want to be. Who do you want to be? And this exercise is very easy. It's very easy, and we're going to do it together, right? Now, if you find your word, if you find who you want to be, like the top part of it, if you find who you want to be, go on the chat and let us know that you find who you want to be, or unmute yourself if you want to share it with us. If you want to share with the group, unmute yourself and say what you want to be. If you have found it and you don't want to share it, just go on the chat and tell us that, yes, I find my word. You can share your word if you can share what you want to be with us or not. But just let us know if you already have it in your head, what you want to be. So you can do it on the chat, or you can unmute yourself and say it. Have you identified already who you want to be? Yes, no. Awesome, Kevin, awesome. Graduate, professional, proficient, and executing tasks. Yep. Who else? What do you want to be? I know it's a tough question. I know it's a question that we don't usually think of all the time. And when we think about it, we usually think of only long, very long term. I want you to be practical and think about it both long and short term. Steven say, I want to be a millionaire. That's a good one. I want to be unique, influential, and confident. Good. Support my community. That's another good one. Awesome. As you're thinking through your word, as you're thinking through what you want to be, co-founder tech startup. Yeah, we should talk. I have plenty of ideas, and I'm always looking for co-founders. So, want to be an investor? That's definitely a good one. So as you're thinking through all those things that you want to be, want to be a better person than what I was yesterday. That's definitely a good one. Be there for my community. Awesome. Awesome. You guys are coming up with a lot of great things that you want to be. Now, in order for you to figure out what your word is very simple. You figure out what you want to be, and you can either do it by yourself by self-identifying all the the element that goes into being a good whatever you want to be, or you can cheat and go on Google and type what are the characteristics of the person that does this. Like Stephen mentioned, you want to be an investor. What make a good investor? You can just Google that. What make a good investor? And it will say, here's the 5 or the 10 things that you need to be good at in order for you to be a good investor. And then from there, you can take the acronym from those things that you're trying to be, and then it will be able to give you your word. You'll be able to find your word. Build a legacy that will benefit the future generation. Awesome. That's a great one. So whichever way in which you're trying to build that legacy, find that and find the characteristic. What kind of person build legacy? What kind of person build this? And when you identify the kind of person that does what you want to do, then it's simple. You just go and figure out, here's the characteristic of the people that do this thing that I want to do. That means you know what to work on. You know what to stay on, what to keep pushing so that you can get where you want to be. Now, when you find your word, when you find the thing that describe or the character or the identity that you're trying to develop and build, now it's time to do them. It's time to use the 3-step that we talked about, 3-step of developing the habit that we talked about, and actually go and start developing those habits. Now, when you start developing habit based on who you want to be, you see developing habit become really very easy because the word on it is clear on your mind. And if you're gonna do that, you can attach that word to the habit, to the beginning cue of that habit. Whatever you do before that habit, let's say you want to be an A student, and you know that A student do the homework on time. And whatever your name, that word is, you post it in front of all your books. So you will, every time you look at it, you will see it, and then it will tell you what you need to do. It will remind you of the promise that you made to you to become good at those things that make you a particular good or a particular, that move you toward what you're trying to build. So that's your word. I really want you to take this exercise. Sometimes when we're in a group like this, it might not, it's not enough time for you to think through it and then figure out exactly what your word is, but I want you to take some time. Hopefully tonight, take some time, think about it, and find your word. Find the word that you can stand by. Find the word that has the characteristic that you actually want to build, and see how you can build that into all the habit that you're trying to develop. It will bring you, every time you do the activity or every time you do a certain action, will bring you closer to that identity that you're trying to develop. And doing that will lead you to get to whatever you desire, whatever you want to actually be. Now, let's move on. One of the things that I promised in my introduction is that I'm going to give you 3 habits that if you do every day, it will change your life. And I mean this, it will change your life. Whatever your want or your desire, whatever you desire to be, whatever you're planning to become, doing these 3 habits guarantee that will happen. The first step, the first thing, or the first habit that you need to build is building the habit of reading. Reading, I'm not talking just your books and your mandatory reading that you have to do for your classes, although those are good to keep reading, but you need to read something that helps you grow every day. Particularly something that helps grow who you want to be. Jose here mentioned that he wanted to be a tech startup. How do you become a tech startup? What do you need to know in order for you to be a tech startup or a tech founder? What do you need to know? The good news is everything that you might need to know are already been written. People have already done that, and they did it, they excel at it, they recorded what they did, and they put it in books, they put it in articles, they put it in videos, they put it in places. So every day, if you read every day, no, you don't have to spend 3 hours or 20 hours reading all day. Even if you read 10 minutes a day or 5 minutes a day, every day, something that make you go into that identity that you identify, it will make every day a step toward that identity, a step toward what you want to accomplish, a step toward who you want to be. The second habit here is writing. I know it might sound a little counterintuitive, like writing, how does writing help? Writing helps you record your progress. It helps you record your thinking. It helps you think through stuff. It helps you visualize how you process life, how you process the things that are happening. So the habit of writing or journaling is, to be honest, I heard this advice millions of times, all the time, and I never took it on. When I decided to, it really changed every way in which I think about almost anything. Anything that could be a challenge for you, as you write them down, it helps you visualize where you are in that problem and potential solution. Potential solution always come by you clearly thinking through those problems, clearly identifying the causes of those problems, what impediment you can remove to make that easier. And all those come to thinking through the problem and thinking, and there's not a better activity that help you think than writing. Now, except from writing, you have a quiet time, which is something that most of us, me specifically, I have neglected for years. You hear people talking about meditation. Usually meditation is that, it's just that, a quiet time for yourself, a quiet time for you to reflect, a quiet time for you to think. There's nothing that is more important than you having some quiet time and thinking through problems. Generally, we experience so much over the course of our day. We always bombard with an amount of information that are just too much to process. Our brain is always thinking through stuff. And what our brain does is it accumulate all that. It's all in our subconscious. But now, if we never give ourselves the time to let the result of that thinking, the result of our brain working all that time, we will never get insight on what we need to do. Insight, those little voices, those voices of the angel that are already in your head that can come and guide you to the path that you actually want to take. So taking a couple of minutes a day, mandatory as a habit, whether it's at the beginning of your day or at the end of your day, to quietly reflect. Find a place where just by you can shut the door, shut the computer, shut everything off, and just be alone with your thinking. For some, it happened when they go in the shower. For some, it happened when they go in the car. For some, they go in their room or when you go in bed. But trying to find some time that you schedule in, not something that accidentally happened, not something that is not planned, something that you schedule in, and then you can reflect on what you actually want. You can reflect on those things. And by reflecting on what you want, and reflecting on your identity, and reflecting on what you're trying to build, you get insight on best next step. That's how people come up with project, with different company. That's the ideation process that come up. That's how people come up with book. That's how people come up with all the things that you have seen in the world that make the world go along. Is those insight. Insight combine all the knowledge that you have accumulated over your experience, over your course of life, and transform that experience into slightly better judgment or slightly better intuition on how things should be done. And that could drastically change your life. So if you get nothing from this talk, I want you to take these 3 things. Build these 3 habits, and I guarantee you it will change the way things goes in your life. Read every day, write every day, and find some time to think and reflect. Now, as before we go to the closing of this, I know we have another 10 minutes. I wanted to take a 2 minute to do a quick, for you to do a quick survey for me. So if you can scan this QR code and go to your phone and fill out this quick 2 minute survey, and we will open up for questions and talk through any question that we might have any clarification on any point I may have made, and we have 10 minutes. So the floor is open for questions. If you want to know anything particular, any specific habit that I do for any specific reason, feel free to ask and I will gladly share that with you. And before we do that, I have a story that I wanted to share with you. A story about actually the academy and how I end up deciding to do the main thing that I do. When I first moved in the US, I wasn't clear on what I wanted to be. I really wasn't. I didn't know. I'm from a family of medical doctors, so I thought that that was the path that I should take. That was the path that made sense that I should take. And when I came in, that I started getting different advice from everybody, and trying to apply to become a doctor, I saw that that would be 14 years of study more. Like, no, I'm not gonna do that. And I said, what is the best next thing that I can do? And my best next thing that I could do was nursing. So I applied at Hostos to become a nurse, not because I love nursing, not because it was my passion. And as you know, career that work with people, like nursing, like doctor, it need to be a passion. It need to be something that you actually want to do. And it wasn't my case. I didn't want to do that. So I joined the Hostos and I started doing the nursing program. And then how things work, I end up being in the STA and end up getting into the Leadership Academy. Then I start seeing people, as Jason does, inviting people to come and share their thought, their intuition, their experience, what they have learned over the course of the years. And one of the person that Jason brought that really changed how I saw things was Brian Rashid, I believe. I believe he spoke this year. Yeah, he did. So he had this little exercise that he made. I don't remember what his talk was. I believe at the time he was talking about personal branding. I don't remember what the talk was. I don't remember anything from the talk. I remember one exercise that he did. The exercise was become an idea machine. And from that talk, become an idea machine, I started to write an idea every day. Every day I would write an idea. Every day I would write an idea. And then from there, everything that happened in my life started to change. Everything. On top of that, I have had like numerous conversations with Jason where we talked through, hey, my life is just, I don't think that this is working. Like, what can I do? And him sharing his intuition and his experience with me, all that. It's those little things have made me choose the path that I have chosen today. And I cannot be happier with the decision that I have made. It have worked out way better than I could have predicted. Just a few 5 years ago, I could not imagine doing the thing that I'm doing now. Last year I was in, last week I was invited to help in the policy hackathon where we had people from across the globe coming and talking about policy and how to identify policy, how we talk about the technology, how technology work into policy and things of that nature. And I was part of that conversation. And that is something that 10 years ago, I couldn't see. There's no way I could even imagine that. So what the advice I want to give you today is just keep building the right habit. They will lead you to places that you can't even begin to imagine right now. And I'll stop talking. If you have any question, please feel free to share, ask your question in you guys seem to be a lot quieter than we used to be. Maybe just me, but you seem a lot quieter than our group used to be. But yeah, we still have 6 minutes, so the floor is yours.
So here's your chance to ask somebody who is sitting in the same seats that you're sitting in now, only 5 years ago, and you can benefit from his knowledge and experience. I mean, one of the great, my favorite Saint story. He knows this. He's heard it because he told it. Is how Harvard happened. He was motivated and he went to Boston and he went to the university and he said, I'm going to talk to the dean today, no matter what it is. And he went to the dean's office. He spoke to the secretary. He said, is the dean available today that I could speak to him about coming to Harvard? And she said, no, he's not really available today. Do you mind if I sit and wait and see if he might, have some time? And she said, sure, it's free. It's a free country. You can sit where you like. So he sat there and waited. And eventually he got the meeting with the dean and it changed his trajectory. And I think some of what Saint spoke about today is about that. It's about sort of thinking about where you are, where it is that you want to go, not hindering yourself by holding yourself back by where you've been in the past, but understanding that there's a journey out there for you to take, and you may not even know what it is as of yet. But you have to start to have a direction to go in. So sometimes it's good to have a career as a direction. Sometimes it's good to have a motivation as a direction, like being a positive voice in your community. Sometimes it's just good enough to have a sense of where it is you'd like to be in 5 years, right? So we heard somebody wants to be a millionaire. All of them are good journeys to be putting yourself on. The realization and the understanding that you have to come to is that just because you're shooting for the moon doesn't mean that you're always going to land on the surface of the moon. Sometimes you're going to go in a different direction, but because you've set the goal in front of you, you're on that journey to get to some place. And it's actually more likely than not you're going to get to the place that you were meant to be anyway.
Yep.
And I'm sorry for rephrasing your story, but I've also told Saint about my story. So I didn't know that I was going to be at Hostos. I'd been a teacher, I'd been a professor. I wanted to be a writer. There were a lot of things that were on my journey, right, on my master plan. It just happened to be that somebody, a former student, came to me and showed me this job and said, here, this is a great job. I said, I've never done any of this. She said, the top part you haven't done, the bottom part you've done. And I got to Hostos, and to be honest with you, we're coming up on my 15th anniversary, and I could not think of a better job to have had over this time period. Nothing compares to it. Even my wildest dreams about where I wanted to be, what I wanted to do, they don't hold a candle to the stuff that I've been able to do in the course of my time at Hostos. And I'm so proud to be affiliated with Saint. And we were talking before we went on the air about the work that he's doing with Alassane and Faisal, his classmates. And we talk about the relationships that you develop here. So some of you are new and don't even realize, because if you don't come to the booth, you don't come to the office, you're just sort of seeing people in boxes here. Don't realize how powerful these relationships can be and how long they can last. And like I've said at a number of different events, we've had people who've married each other. We've had people who've stayed best friends for all that 15 years that have been around. We've had brothers and sisters and cousins and nieces come and be part of the academy after people left. And it's still happening. I mean, I just spoke to somebody who was a member of the original academy, and her daughter, even though she's getting a bachelor's degree, really wants to come back to Hostos to get a nursing degree. And she probably will join the Leadership Academy. And we have a young man who was part of our program when he was 17. He's got a younger brother who could go anywhere probably to any college, but just because he feels a kinship to Hostos and what we did, and he volunteered with us when he was a boy, when he was, in his teen, just 11, 12 years old. He feels like he wants to be a part of the program too. And it's not boastful in any way. I think that your dreams have to go somewhere. And I think that Saint's a good example of that, right? He didn't say, I'm just going to say, whatever it is, whatever my family says, become a doctor, go in the medical field, and just do it. And I'm just going to fall into that. The reality is that you all have to make a choice at some point. Nobody else can direct the world that is your life. And the greater amount of time that you put into sort of absorbing what it is that you're doing and thinking about the reality of where you want to go, it creates a landscape for you to really go anywhere that you want. I mean, I'm all for CUNY. I like CUNY. I like being in play of CUNY, but I went to CUNY and then I went to Columbia. And so when I talk to my students, I don't say, it doesn't have to be one thing or another. It can be whatever it is that your dream is. And maybe for some, it's undergraduate, it's still CUNY, and then graduate work is somewhere else. But never ever hesitate on believing in whatever your dreams tell you can do. And I mean, we've had I think we've had 5 students go to Harvard now. And Saint had part in, getting Carlos to go out there. And I know Jean Buddha's out there. And I know we had a couple of other people who went there from different years and from different programs. It's all about what you want to do and where you see yourself. And so I'm always going to be supportive of that. And I think Saint will also be supportive of that. It says, if you want to catch up with him, stay in touch. He gave you all his social media here.
Yep.
And he is a wonderful human being to connect with, because he'll make sure that you get what you need. He'll make sure that you connect you with people that are influencing and can help you to get to, the places that you want to go. And I remember a couple of years ago, Fatima went to the summer program at Harvard, and Saint and Carlos went out to meet her and talk to her and support her, even though she was only going to be there for a couple of weeks. But that's the kind of community that we've been working on all of these years to develop, so that we can continue to foster the things that are your dreams. And again, I'll say this last thing because I'm talking too much and I've taken over your workshop. I apologize. Just
Okay.
that Saint and everybody else who's ever been a part of the Leadership Academy will tell you this. There is not one form of leadership. And we do not teach one form of leadership. We believe that there are a vast amount of leaders who can come in different forms and fashions and address different issues in different scenarios. And my favorite story of all is when I first got to Hostos. 60-70% were women. It was almost 70% when I got to Hostos. And I had moms in the program, and moms who brought their kids to the workshops that Saint was mentioning before when we were in person. And I would babysit in the back of the room while the workshops were going on. But those individuals who were moms at that time, who were pursuing, their individual goals, right, to being a nurse, to be a teacher, to be whatever it is, an engineer, all the things that they wanted to do, they were passionate about doing what they wanted to do, but they were serving as leaders too, because like I said, their children were learning from their parents about the journey that they were going on, and the fact that they were doing things extraordinary outside the classroom. So when we go out and we volunteer, people were bringing out their children to volunteer. They still do. And it's a learning exercise, right? Even I brought my children to volunteer activities because it's an opportunity to say, this is important. It's more than just about, talking the talk. It's about walking the walk. It's about getting your hands dirty. And I have pictures of when my daughter came out with me. We were in the South Bronx and we were planting bulbs of flowers that may never grow. But the point was, we were going to make the effort. We were going to make the effort. We were going to try. We were going to try to make the Bronx more beautiful. And that was the point. And that's what the lesson was for my daughter on that particular day. And I value that. And I valued everybody who's ever brought their child out to one of these activities with us. So I've talked too much, Saint. I apologize.
No, all good, all good. All these stories, they're good for us to remember. They're good for us to again, we're going over time, but even the strategy that I have used in my life, you see, when I share my introduction, I do a lot of things. It's one of the things that I picked up during the Model United Nations that we did. So when we went for the Model UN, there was a team that was the best team there. We had the third position, if I remember correctly, right? And for that event, they have colleges from across the world. They have Harvard there, they have Columbia, they have all the university, and little old Hostos, we took the third place. But one thing that I took from I think Hunter College was the first year. And I saw how they use the way in which they built they were going about the proposal or the policy is the way that I picked up to do my life. So you don't have to do only one thing. In order for them to be successful, they were working in multiple policy at once. And it made them be as active and influential in all those policy, which overall gave them the first position. I have took that as a philosophy on how I run my business and my life. And that's basically how I decided to run. So you get a lot more in this program as you think through, as you think them. Just don't let them happen. Let them happen and think through them, and then you gain a lot more than you can possibly think. I know I mentioned that a lot, and if you talk to anyone that was in the Leadership Academy, they will tell you how all these little courses change their career as they do in their career, no matter what their career are. Because leadership, it doesn't matter where you are. You can be great on your career when you understand this basic concept and this basic approach that we bring here in the leadership. And I'll stop here. I try.
Anyway, I want to honor everybody's time. I know it's a busy weekend for some folks. I want to thank you, Saint, for being here, for always being generous with your time, and for really wanting to give back to this community. I love you. You know that. You know I'm so proud to be associated with you, affiliated with you. I always am entranced by the journey and all of the next steps that you have. So please always, feed me and give me more information so I can share it with Felix. I know you tell Felix too, but so I can tell everybody here at the campus all of the exciting things that you're going to do. And Felix, thank you for staying for the event. I really appreciate you being here. And as I do every week, I just want to say bye to everybody. So thank you for being here, Brian. Thank you for being here, Joseph. Thank you for being here, Mariella, Wendy, Maria, Daphne, Bridget, Leighton, Kevin, Ashanti, Mateo, Sheridan, Annie, Elizabeth, Francine, Cisse, and there were a lot of other people here earlier who just popped out a couple minutes ago. I really appreciate you being here. I wish you all a great weekend. Let me remove these pins and I'll say goodbye, and I will see you next week. And we do have an event on Monday.
Thank you.
If you can come out for the Halloween event, come out. We'll see you on Monday. Come and meet everybody in person. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank
Have
you.
a great weekend. Enjoy.
Happy Friday, everyone.
Happy Friday, Brian.
You
Tell everybody at the booth they got to work on Monday.
All right.
All right. Bye, everybody. Take care. Say hi to your wife for me and a kiss to your baby. All right.
Bye.
Take care.